All right, we are back. We apologize to everybody for that tech issue. We will try to find out exactly what happened. I have a feeling I know what happened, but it is what it is. But you guys all jumped right back with us, and we appreciate it. So we were just getting ready to talk about some of the trade proposals. Um, so there were three teams that I was looking at that I think would be um, a perfect fit for the Yankees. And I have those three teams as the Marlins, the Guardians, and the Brewers. Um, and uh, you know what, Brad? It was not me this time, so shove it.
Yeah,
Um,
Brad. Enough with the same joke over and over. Donald already got you the other day, and you didn't come back. He put you down, and you didn't come back, and here you're back again with the same old tired joke. It wasn't Tats's fault. It wasn't
yep,
Tats's fault. I can tell you that right now. It wasn't his fault. So your joke
yep.
it means nothing. Your joke isn't usable today because it wasn't Tats's fault.
So, all right. So the Marlins, there are the two guys that I was looking at is Garrett and Lizardo. I think would be a good trade for the Yankees. So being that the Marlins and the Yankees have tried making arrangements before, um, I want to start with them. Are those two guys that are on your radar? Who would you give up to the Marlins? Let's try to break that down.
Yeah, I think the Marlins are actually the best trade partner because they have so much pitching. I mean, just looking at their team, Alcantara is obviously hurt, but they still have Lizardo, Garrett, Perez, Cabrera, Rogers, Weathers, Meyer. So, um, if they would be willing to give up Braxton Garrett, that'd be great. Gets us another lefty. I really like Cabrera as well. He had a really good, strong second half of the season. So he can be a guy. He throws a hard sinker. Matt Blake's dream. Um, I think we match up pretty well with them. Maybe Torres, but I don't know. I still don't know if they want to move him. They could look at Peraza to be their future at second base as well. And we know one thing they want to do is move Luis Arias to first base full time. And
Yeah,
then their other infielders at second base are like Bruhan, Edwards, and Birdie. I don't know if they want to go through with that. Jake Berger's at third. So they need infielders. And they might need maybe a little bit of help in the outfield. So maybe you kind of give them like a maybe Peraza Pereira package for a starter and a reliever or something like that. But I love the Marlins pitching staff. And if they're willing to move one of those guys, they need catching help as well. And we have 5 catchers now on the 40 man. So you still have to move a couple of them, or at least one more. I love the Marlins as a trade partner because it goes back to last year, the year before that. They almost got Lopez from them. So if it has to be Torres, then you wouldn't have to give up another piece because Torres is the better of the players. But if they like Peraza, I would entertain the idea. If it gets us a young, controllable arm, you might think about moving Peraza.
yeah. See, Peraza's almost like one of those guys like Joe, like Spencer Jones. If I could avoid moving moving those guys, I try to avoid it because you know I'm trying to hold on to Peraza just like Urias. I know Urias is more likely to be our third baseman, but we haven't seen him yet. I'd rather stick with guys that Peraza's been here, and I don't want Peraza to be another Florial. I don't want him to just kind of get lost in the wind. Because he's got so much talent.
You say
So,
Urias?
huh?
Would you say Urias?
But, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Arias. You think of
Arias.
Arias? Okay. It's like, when did we get Urias?
When you say it, I'm like, wait, that don't sound right, but nobody's saying anything. So, um, yeah, Arias said it. Yeah. So, but I'm trying to say, I'd really like to. I'd like to try to hold on to those guys. I think you can get a deal done with other prospects. So because DJ LeMahieu is not going to be here long term, so if I can hold on to the Peraza, just because I've seen him on the field already. There's no guesswork in it. His defense is elite. And Arias could be the same thing. So we can end up with, next season, having, Arias, Volpe, Peraza, and first base. I don't know who would fit that role. Let's just, for argument's sake, Ben Rice. That's one hell of a defensive alignment.
Yeah, and again, we talked about it already several times going back to the start of the season, how Hal mentioned the middle of the infield of the future is Peraza and Volpe. So do they move Torres, which would really hurt? It would take a little bit away from our offense, but it would save you some money, especially if you remember the other day, I think last week when Dane brought it up, that there's some speculation going on that the Yankees might try to still make a push for Bellinger if his number drops, and they would move Torres and Verdugo to kind of clear that money. If they don't get Yamamoto and they're able to bring in another bat like Bellinger and then trade Torres for pitching, you can still have a really good team. So I don't think that's going to happen, but you got to keep that in mind. If they trade Torres, how do you replace his offense? Because he is still
exactly.
He's like your third best player right now behind Judge and Soto. So you would get rid of your third best player. You don't know what Stanton's going to be, if he's going to be healthy. If he's healthy, he's going to be a good hitter, a good power hitter. What's Rizzo? What is LeMahieu at this point in his career? Because LeMahieu was slow at the start of last season, then really good. So are you going to get the DJ from 2021? Or are you going to get the DJ from the second half of last year? What are you going to get? We know we're not getting 2019, 2020 DJ again. But what is he going to be? Is Volpe going to take a step up? Do you want to rely on essentially Peraza would be, I guess, still considered a rookie because he's barely played. Peraza, Volpe, Wells, the bottom of your order. That's a lot of youth you're going to be relying on to really take a step forward, where at least with Torres, you're going to get a good offensive player. And again, he has been streaky. So there's things you have to work out there, but I think all this doesn't, none of this happens until the Yamamoto decision, but you might have to move Torres though, because teams aren't going to really look at Peraza and be like, oh, that's a future at second base. They're going to look at Torres and be like, well, at least for 1 year, he's a proven good hitter and he's a good enough second baseman. He's not perfect. He was great the last couple of years, or 2 years ago. And last year he wasn't as good, but at least teams know for 1 year you're going to get a good season out of Gleyber Torres. So you kind of would probably have to trade him to get a pitcher like a Garrett or Cabrera even. But again, we'll see. We'll see if they trust Peraza. I've said it several times. It doesn't seem like they trust him. But if they change their minds on him and they want to move him as a second baseman going forward, then fine. I'm fine with that because he's going to be very cheap for the next 3 years, and then you got arbitration. So you could definitely do that.
Good morning, Donald.
There he is.
Good afternoon, everybody. What's
all right? Throw your 2 cents into this whole mess.
I was looking on our channel. I'm like, wait, Tad's posted a show like 20 minutes ago, and now we've got another show going on.
I'll explain it backstage.
Oh, really? Okay. So I believe that we're discussing the trade market for the Yankees.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So from what I understand, Dylan Cease is on our radar if we don't land Yamamoto. Dylan Cease had a 4.58 ERA last year, but the year before that he had a 2.20 ERA. How would you feel about him as a fallback option?
I'm not afraid of taking Dylan Cease at all. I wanted him. I've wanted him in the past, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, Rob.
It would be interesting, and Ambro, I think Torres was great last year. I don't know why you would get that idea. I think Torres was really good last year. Defensively, he wasn't I said defensively. He wasn't
Yeah.
as good. Offensively, he was great. He was our best hitter last year. So
that's the conundrum with Torres is his terrible defense, but his good hitting.
it's not terrible. He was serviceable last year. The year before, he was a lot better. He was like playing like not Gold Glove caliber, but like above average defense. Last year, that kind of dipped a little bit, but he was still. It wasn't like he was costing us games.
Yeah.
But anyway, if they go after Cease, I would like to get Garrett Crochet along with it, and it's going to cost a lot more. And we've already given up so many prospects, especially from the pitching side. Do the Yankees give up more to get a guy like Cease who's got 2 years of control? It's going to cost you some more arms. And I know we were able to save a couple in the Soto trade, but maybe the White Sox would want Pereira, Peraza. Maybe they'd want one of our bats and another couple of one of our arms. I don't know if the Yankees give up another 4 or 5 player package for another pitcher. I don't for one pitcher. I don't know if they do that again.
It's like Brad brings this up.
Yeah, I think if they were to make a deal for Cease, I think they would need to replenish their pitching depth at that point because we've already lost about 5 or 6 arms now. I can't see them giving up too many more. I would say that Peraza would probably headline a deal for Dylan Cease, but at the moment, I would pencil Peraza in as our utility infielder. Now, what that does for Ozzy Cabrera, I'm not sure because Peraza will pretty much have Cabrera's role as a super utility guy. That's if we don't trade Gleyber Torres. If we were to acquire Dylan Cease, I would assume that we would look to replenish our pitching depth by possibly trading Gleyber Torres at that point because he's our only real asset that can accumulate a couple arms in return. But it all depends on the package. It really does. Because there's another way of looking at it too. Like, for instance, if say Peraza headlined a deal for Dylan Cease, then if we were to trade Gleyber Torres, who would backup second baseman be? So who would actual second baseman be? So that's a real conundrum now because DJ LeMahieu looks pretty much penciled in for third base. You can move him to second, but who's playing third? So it's a real conundrum. I hope that it's not a bridge that we have to cross. Quite honestly, I'm really hoping that Yamamoto is a done deal. We land him in the next 48 hours or so, and we don't need to make any further trades. That's what I'm hoping. Many further major trades anyway, in terms of pitching depth. But that's what I'm hearing, guys. Talking baseball had the tweet up that the Yankees are looking at Dylan Cease as a fallback option to Yamamoto. That was posted today.
Yeah. But no, I think, and Brad put it in the chat. And I had the same argument or the same mindset at the trade deadline last year. Dylan Cease just needs to change. I think he's one of those. He needs to change the scenery. Yeah, I think you put him back into a competitive situation. I think he gets right back to form. So that's what I want. That's why I want to steal Cease from the White Sox because I think you put him in the right situation and you put him with Matt Blake. He's gonna be just fine. I actually like that idea.
Yeah, and Jonathan Crochet's a relief pitcher, so it would help the bullpen. He's another lefty, and he's a damn good arm. So that I only said that because if we get Cease, I would like to get a relief pitcher as well because it's going to cost you a lot to get Cease. Even with the bad season under his belt, he still has success prior. He's got 2 years of control, so he's not a rental. So it makes sense that you'd have to give up a lot to get him, but I don't know if they do it. I just don't think they do it.
I don't think he's on their radar. Yeah, I don't think he's high up on their radar.
Yeah, it'd be good
they're paying attention, but they're not. I can't see them getting aggressive for it.
Yeah, it'd be good to check in on him.
Yeah,
just to see what it would take to get him. But I think the White Sox are going to ask for the world for him for good reason. Because again, they have nothing else to do right now besides if they're going to go rebuilding. They got to get a lot for this guy because pitching is at a premium, especially when you can get 2 years of control for a good pitcher when it's going to cost you a lot to sign Montgomery or sign Snell, and it's going to cost you $300 million to get Yamamoto. So Cease could be a much cheaper option for a team for a 2 year. Like the Orioles could be in on him for all we know. Like he'd be a really good fit for Baltimore. And Burns as well. Burns is another option there, Brad, if they go the trade route. I just don't know if they want to give up more prospects because they've lost a lot of pitching. I know the names like outside of Thorpe aren't like, they're not like glaring at you. Like I don't think anyone's crying about losing Brito and Vasquez and Mitch Spence and all these guys, but our depth took a massive hit in the Rule 5 draft and the Soto trade and the Verdugo trade. So to have to give up more because they're gonna want pitching. It's not like they're gonna be like, just give us nothing but hitters for Dylan Cease. So you might have to give up Hampton at that point. And then you look at Pereira or Jones, and do they want to do that for 2 years of a pitcher coming off of a rough season? I don't know. Maybe for Corbin Burns, because Burns has been fantastic. But I think if they don't get Yamamoto, you're looking at Miami as probably the most likely choice because it wouldn't take you that much to get Garrett or Cabrera, and that would fill out the bottom of your rotation. At that point, though, you're looking at a lot of pressure on Rodon. He has to be the guy he was 2 years ago. If you don't get Yamamoto, Rodon has to be that guy. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Jacob. That's what makes me think that Jordan Montgomery would be our real plan B. Because it wouldn't cost us any prospects, wouldn't cost us any major deals. We could just go sign him.
Yeah, it's just
and as long as you get him to re-emphasize his fastball as opposed to what we were doing before,
exactly.
then there's with the fact that he's been one of the best pitchers in the American League. I think that would be a good deal. That would be my fallback option, actually, rather than a trade, because we've just done a major trade. I'd be worried about because the White Sox would have every right to ask for a lot. And that's after that major deal for Soto and the minor deal for Verdugo and the Rule 5, our pitching depth is a little bit cagey right now, and I wouldn't want to lose too much more. And as I mentioned, Gleyber Torres would probably have to be in some kind of a deal if we were to make a separate trade for a pitcher, because we need to replenish our pitching depth. So for me, that would almost cut out the middleman and just sign Montgomery a free agent. We know he's good. We know he can handle New York. We know he's also riding on a high because of his success with Texas. So that would be my fallback option. But I think that'll be probably for a separate pod if the bad news comes, which I'm not expecting. I'm still fully expecting Yamamoto to wear that pinstripe uniform in the next 48 to 72 hours. But that would be my fallback rather than a trade for Cease.
Yeah, it's. I think there's plenty of options that the Yankees have. They really do. But that's what I was going to say. I don't see him coming back to I think the Yankees would be interested, but I don't think he would want to come back.
He might want to. We never know if they come showing the wallet a little bit and a blank check, so to speak. He never. That's again, possible. He didn't have any bad feelings towards the Yankees. He said it. It wasn't like he was like, oh, I'm never going back to them. He wasn't pissed. He had nothing but good things to say. And it wouldn't surprise me if he did come back. I just don't see it happening. I think if they're going to spend big, it's going to be on Yamamoto. And that's where the Yamamoto or bust thing really comes into effect, because they're not spending big on Snell or Montgomery. I don't think. The one guy they're going to spend the big bucks on is Yamamoto for the obvious reasons. He's really good and he's 25. And if you give him 9-10 years, you're going to have him until he's 35. You can still get really good production out of a 34, 35-year-old starter. See Garrett Cole. He's getting into his 30s and he's still outstanding. So it's obvious that's why if they're going to spend another big put out another big contract, it's going to be for him or nobody else. That's the way I see it. If they do have a fallback, maybe they look at Imanaga. I haven't really heard much interest from their part. I think they're kind of praying that Sasaki has that clause in his contract that he can go over whenever he wants. Kind of like what if like Ohtani did, he'd be an international free agent. The Yankees just got some money back in the international market pool. I can't speak. They just got some money because they traded McKinney to the Pirates.
Good point.
Maybe that's their fallback. If he does get posted, he wouldn't even actually be posted. He'd just be an international free agent. It costs you like what, $2-3 million. He'd on a rookie contract. Maybe that's their fallback. They're kind of praying. Dane brought it up a few days ago. They took away some international players they were looking at. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? But
let's discuss that trade. I liked it actually. I think that's a smart. I think that's a smart deal to recoup international money, because the Yankees really can make hay in the international market. They've already done it. They've done very well with international free agents. I think that's a smart call. We had no need for McKinney, and at least he's got us some value back in terms of international pool money. So I'm cool with that. What did you guys think?
I think when it comes to making, anytime the Yankees are able to add to their international money, they do very well on that market. So I think that was the way to go.
Yeah, and they lost a little bit last year when they signed Rodon, where they lose like $1 million in the pool. So I think they just got it back with this trade. And Jacob, SNY, they also employ Sal Licata. So I'm not going to really listen to anything they have to say.
Exactly.
I can't stand that.
All right, so Jonathan just put out there, because we were talking about, with the Dodgers move. They did get the extension done, so Tyler Glass now the trade was finalized. They're finalized. Wow, 5 years, $135 million contract. Holy shit.
I wonder if that goes into effect next year, because that's an extension. He's under contract this year for 25.
Yeah, I think that's the extension. I don't think that's this season.
Yeah, so that's
that would be beyond a joke if they get Ohtani, Glass now, and Yamamoto and spend well over $1 billion in the process. That would be an absolute disgrace.
Yeah, that's like $27 million a year. I know this year, I would, if the Dodgers are smart, which they are, they probably, this goes into effect next year. He's going to get paid 15 against the tax this year, and next year it'll be 27. More than likely, they'll find a way to push it back. Maybe he's got a freaking clause in his contract that pays him till he's 50. But I don't know. Yeah. Is this a fallback to? Is this a plan B? Because they can still get both. They can get Yamamoto still. They have plenty of money. If they can get Yamamoto to $30 million,
deal will start this season. So they're 4 years and $110 million in new money.
Okay.
So the total deal could get to $145 million if Dodgers exercise a $30 million club option in year 5. Jonathan is goated right now. He is on fire. So Jonathan gets the GOAT of the Week award for breaking the news and keeping us up to date on the ramifications of the deal, etc. So that's really, really good job.
Thank you.
And Rob, Jonathan was added. He is now a mod.
Good.
So
he
I
deserves it.
Thought he already was. He's a legend. So there are a multitude of trade options the Yankees can go. There's still, the free agent market if they don't want to give up any more prospects. Everything is kind of at a standstill right now, waiting on Yamamoto. Or one of the things we were talking about early, Donald, I want to get your take on it before we sign off for the weekend. We were talking about with the Dodgers making this deal. Does that improve any further the Yankees' strengths of getting Yamamoto? And what do you think about, because they are going to have a second meeting with Yamamoto next week?
The Yankees are.
Yes.
Great news. Great.
Give us what you think about that.
Do we know if he's having a second meeting with the Dodgers?
I don't know where. I don't even know where the report came from, because we saw a few people put it in the chat, and I think Curry reported it.
I think they said Curry mentioned it.
Yeah, it might have been from Jack Curry. Which, if Jack Curry said it, then you got to believe it.
Well, that's why we're not dismissing it.
If it's Jack Curry, then it's obviously happening. because
Yes.
he's another GOAT. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the optics, now clearly the Dodgers can afford anybody. They could probably afford, fucking Batman if they wanted to. They can pretty much afford everybody. They can, they could probably buy the entire Marvel franchise as well. Or why not? They've got everything. They've got unlimited resources. They just spent $700 million and managed to get the guy to defer basically most of it. So anything's possible. But if you look at it optically, Otani, right, plus Glasnow, come on, they can't surely get Yamamoto as well. It's well over $1 billion worth of value. That would be nonsense. Surely there has to be a bottom line somewhere.
The thing is, they can't afford
the
it.
fact that the Yankees have
Well,
the fact the Yankees are apparently having another meeting with him is a great sign. We know that he wants to be a Yankee. He always wears a Yankee hat. That's what I'm going with. And the Yankees' success with Japanese players in the past, and the fact that the Yankees were far more committed to him than any other team. All through the year, the Yankees were the most committed to him. All through the year, they were going to every one of his starts, and they let him know it too. They've been in on him. They've been on him. They've been on him from the start, and I think that means a lot. It means a lot to people in the Japanese culture. They're very much a culture that's based on loyalty and respect, and the Yankees have that in droves. That's where that's kind of their MO. So I still feel that we're the clear favorites here. I know I'm looking at, like, John Heyman had an article here that says that we're joint first at the moment with the Dodgers. I disagree. I don't believe the Dodgers are joint first. I believe they're second. I believe it's the Yankees 1, Dodgers 2, Mets 3. I think that's the order right now. Now, it just comes down to how our pitch was. And if there is a second meeting, that's probably a great sign that it went very, very, very well. I just can't imagine why the Dodgers, if they have Otani, would then go and they've just got Glasnow, which is a great deal for them. Like, congratulations to them. It's a great deal. I can't see why they would need Yamamoto as well. It's
They
overkill.
need pitching. That's the thing. They need more pitching because their rotation is shot. The Bueller, we don't know his health. They have Miller, now they have Glasnow, and then it's like who Yarborough is like your number 5 starter right now. So they could absolutely, because Otani ain't pitching this year. Yarborough is your number 5. They can absolutely get another pitcher like Yamamoto, because right here, apparently it's still only $15 million against the tax this year. They could go get him right now if they wanted to, and they'd still be under that third tax. That's the
Yeah,
Dodgers.
but if you're going to sign Yamamoto, it's not going to be a
That's
1-year deal. It'll be
insane.
like a 6-year deal. So, like, they're gonna have a full rotation anyway. It's certainly in next year.
Well, that's
once
what I'm
Otani
saying is
happens.
they can afford it this year, and then next year they can still afford it because they cleared a ton of money going back to the last couple of years for the purpose of getting Otani. But because Otani signed such a team friendly deal, for being honest, like, because in terms of the luxury tax, he's only going to account for a fraction of what he's getting paid. Now they can go sign Yamamoto, and they can still afford to do all these things and still have a really good team because they have a deep farm system, a really deep farm system, and they have money. They have the freaking money to go get whoever they want. That's why the Dodgers terrify me. That's why this Glasnow deal does not take them out of the Yamamoto running at all. It could actually strengthen their chances of getting him. It's like, hey, we can still afford you, and our rotation is going to be really freaking good. And imagine it next year with Otani, Yamamoto, Glasnow, Miller, Bueller.
Oh my!
They still have Dustin May in tow. Like, come on. Like, that team is stacked.
It's almost unfair. What they do, it's like cheat codes.
It is a little bit of a cheat code. They managed to get that Otani deal deferred, most of it deferred. It's just nonsense. Let's touch on that because I have feelings on it. Let's start with Uncle T. What did you feel about the fact that they deferred most of the money and it's legal apparently?
I mean, they're not doing anything criminal. I think they saw a window that where they could manipulate the money to benefit them and the organization. I mean, the one thing about it that does annoy me is it's like, how are they able to? I don't think they should have been able to have that much money deferred. I think that's what's kind of has me scratching my head. I like that MLB rectified some of the concerns where even though he's only making $2 million per year and they're deferring the 68, 46 million of it will go against the tax cap each year that he's playing. So all right. So at least they're not just paying him the taxes of the 2 million. It's actually 46 million because he's going to be making the rest of it when he's retired. And they're saying, wait, you can't do that. Like that's where they put their foot down. You have to take some type of hit for this.
I don't have an issue with it. If it's in the CBA where nothing can negate it, it was Ohtani's idea. And why wouldn't the Dodgers take that? It's like, hey, we get to get one of the most exciting players in baseball. He's going to bring in a ton of money to a team that already has it, a team that already has a massive fan base. They're going to get even more fans. I mean, I know it doesn't mean much, but they just surpassed the Yankees in Instagram followers, and that was because of the Ohtani signing. Like, that's how much he brings to an organization. He wanted to be there. He gave you an option to save some money against the all-important luxury tax. You're still going to pay him $700 million. It's just not going to be over 10 years. It'll be over like 20 or whatever. And I think it kind of opens the door for more moves to be like that. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if I would expect another lockout to occur in a few years because Manfred's going to probably put a stop to it. But I don't have a major issue with it. I know it kind of does present that cheat code type of thing where it's like you got arguably the best player in the sport for $70 million a year, but it's only going to cost you 46 against that tax. You're going to have to pay him past his playing years and all that stuff, and you can still go get a Yamamoto and Glass now and still be under the payroll. But it's not the Dodgers' fault. It's baseball's fault. Dodgers just playing within the rules. There's no rules that say you can't do this. The Dodgers are like, hey, well, I mean, we don't have a salary cap. You have a luxury tax. We're going to make a fuck ton of money as it is anyway. So might as well, we're going to, like, hey, screw it. We might as well just pay it. If we got to pay a tax to have the best team in baseball, let's go get it. Because if they win a World Series, the money is going to be rolling man. Like, so it's like, they don't care. So this is baseball's fault in a way. And I'm not saying I want baseball to implement the salary cap because you don't, at this point, you can't do it, but a salary floor for sure, but no, I don't think you can cap it. They're just operating within the rules of the CBA, and Ohtani gave them an opportunity to do some more stuff on top of getting an already really good player. I can't be mad at it. I'll definitely be mad if they get Yamamoto. I'm gonna be pissed. I'm like, God damn it, this sucks. The Dodgers are ruining baseball. Obviously, I'm joking, but I mean, if he came to the Yankees and said, hey, let's do this, I'd be like, hey, I want that guy on my team. So, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm just gonna look from a kind of like outside looking in. I think every fan of every team in baseball will be like, if a player came to my team and wanted to do that, they would sign him. It's more of a baseball fault than in the Dodgers' fault. The Dodgers are just doing what they can.
I mean,
they ain't breaking rules.
That's what you can't hate on the Dodgers for it. They saw an opportunity and they took it. It's when it came out about with the deferred money and all of that. When the initial report came out, 10 years, 700 million. My first reaction was, all right, how many years until they regret this move? And they were able to manipulate a system that had no rules against what they did, and they made it work for them. I mean, it's genius when you really sit back and you analyze everything like we're doing. The Dodgers are really freaking smart about this. They played their hand perfectly.
No, I don't blame the Dodgers. This is definitely not a blame of the Dodgers. They've taken advantage of what baseball allows them. Like, for instance, why did the Red Sox call us the Evil Empire? because we signed Mark Teixeira and Jose Contreras right from under their freaking noses, and they were furious about it. But hey, we were just playing within the laws of baseball. There was no laws to say that there was a salary cap on us or a tax cap on us, so we went and spent what we could and got the best players in. So I don't blame the Dodgers for doing that. If they have the capability, good for them. Like they had the capability of putting that kind of offer on the table for Ohtani. Like that alone is impressive. And the fact that Ohtani is happy to defer a lot of that money is to help the team is obviously shows that he's a team guy, and that's a good thing too. Now, is it good for baseball? That's murky. That's where it gets murky, and I think
that's undecided right now.
I think this tax thing gets murky. This is a little. There's a little bit. It's just too murky. You see, in the other sports, there's a clear salary table, and it's pretty clear how much money you can afford to add to your payroll. With this tax thing, it's a little bit too murky for me, and I don't like it. And I think it will 100% end up. This whole deferral thing, this will end up being the next point of contention in the next CBA, because this is definitely going to be. It's probably going to set a marker for future deals. You're gonna see this in future deals because it's just too good. It's too fantastic. And it doesn't need to be for $1 billion like Ohtani's contract, but you could spread it out. You could be like, I'll pay you this, but I'll pay you the rest once you retire. That could happen in future deals, and there's nothing that can stop you from doing it. So they're playing within the rules, playing within the laws. But I'm telling you, if they can add the smorgasbord of pitching and superstars and just keep deferring, that's going to be disgusting, and it's going to be a point of contention. It's going to be a problem, but they're only doing what baseball allows them to do. So there's no laws being broken here. Just like they've added an extra Cohen tax because Cohen was just spending what he can afford to spend, right? Not successfully, I might add, but he was just doing that. So there's now a Cohen tax. So now there's probably going to be a new amendment to the rule with what the Dodgers just did with that. That's probably what you're going to see. Manfred's going to have to come up with something because the rest of the league are going to be like, this is desperately unfair. But hey, it's up to the Yankees to step up and not play second fiddle in terms of the big moves. So I think they're going to get Yamamoto. I don't think they're going to allow Yamamoto to go out.
So a big thing is the reason why Ohtani could do this is because he's going to make more money in endorsements than any other player. Because he's got endorsements in Japan and here, and you got a huge Japanese market in LA. He's gonna make more money with endorsements than he probably would make on an actual salary. Like, he's probably gonna make like ridiculous money. So the fact that he's gonna make during his playing years, he'll make I think like 30-something million in endorsements, and then when he's done playing, he's gonna make 70 million a year. Why wouldn't you offer that? Like
exactly. His agent is sitting down with him, going through exactly what you just did right there. They're like, you're not actually going to lose anything here. You're going to make a ton of money in endorsements. So whatever you lose in current contract, you're going to make up double when you retire. That's going to feed your family for generations. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It's a good deal. Good deal for both sides.
And
terrible deal for baseball, though.
Because you wonder if it's going to be the norm going forward, but no other player can bring in, like Aaron Judge brings in like what, $4 million in endorsements. It's nothing compared to what Ohtani brings in. So he couldn't really offer that kind of deal. Juan Soto, you could think maybe the Yankees try something like that, but no, Soto's not going to come close to what Ohtani. He's not going to beat Judge in endorsements. He ain't going to beat Ohtani in endorsements, but maybe you try something like that with him deferring some money. And also, I don't know why my dad's bringing up something from 19. Tats, you were around when Babe Ruth was getting paid. Do you think the money's the same then as it was now?
No, but he's got a point. The money is ridiculous now. I mean, signing guys for like
100 years.
$1 million. I mean, that's
there is a difference in the years. The times were different. The way that the game is financed was different. So it's hard to compare, but it is a valid point that it's just what I think is interesting about it is the way that we look at back then to now. I mean, I was talking with one of the younger guys at work yesterday, and me and one of the other an older guy as well. The three of us are talking. I'm like, yeah, I says it's not like the old days where in the off season they were getting jobs. And there's this kid, he's about 23 years old. He's like, he had no clue that they, like DiMaggio is working at the supermarket in the off season. You know what I mean? It's, he's like, but didn't they make money? They got paid. I'm like, it's not like they were making millions of dollars. And we're trying to explain it. And it was mind blowing to him that players actually had to have real jobs when the seasons were over.
Yeah, it's a much different time because, again, you're thinking about 1903 and 1912 and all these, like the Titanic sank that year. Like you know how far back you're going. Like you can't be like, I can't believe players are making so much when Babe Ruth made pennies. Like back then, you could probably buy, like if you went back in time on your DeLorean with like $600, you'd probably be one of the richest people in the world at that point. Like there was a depression to think about and all that shit. So no, it's a different, and the sport is bringing so much more money than it did back then. Like it's 100 years, it's a century we're talking about here. Of course, the money's going to be different. You can't expect players.
But the funny thing is, real quick,
I just did the calculation. So $3,700 in 1920 is worth $56,804 in 2023. So obviously there is serious inflation, but it also still shows that how crazy the money is now. I mean, 56,000 even isn't even that much at all. So to win a World Series, so I mean, there is a point there. Your dad does have a point. I mean,
but even back then, there were people outraged that Babe Ruth was making that much money to play a game.
It's never going to change.
So
everyone's going to be outraged.
The narrative is still the same. Just the money, the value is different.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame an athlete for wanting to get paid. If he's one of the best players in the sport, I'm not paying him. He's not taking money out of my. Maybe he might in LA. I don't know, but like he's not taking money I'm not giving him part of my paycheck every week to go play baseball. So I really don't care. That's why if the Yankees want to give Yamamoto $350, go give him $350. You're not spending my money. If I go to a game and you're technically spending I guess you're spending some of my money, but it's like I'm not paying these players. So the fact that they want to sit back there and be like, this is disgusting, but you're still watching, right? You're still watching the sport. I mean, if it angers you that much, how much people are making, don't watch it. Go watch highlights from the 1910s if that's the case. I don't know. What do you want to do? Like, if we're going to sit here and complain about how much people are making, we're still going to watch the sport. So just let them get their money. I don't really care if they get paid. When Tatis got that crazy deal and he only played for 1 year, I was like, go get paid. The Brewers just paid a rookie, hasn't even touched the field yet, 19 years old, whatever he is. He just got a massive extension. He hasn't even played. So are we going to be mad at him? The guy just made life-changing money, and he hasn't even stepped foot on a major league field yet. Good for you.
I don't think anyone's mad at him. It does show it's kind of crazy, though. The money is going the money's gone just completely crazy. I mean, you're right. Sean's right. Babe Ruth was emperor status and God. You could even go back to, like, if you look at like Jeter's contract, A-Rod's contract, none of that even touches Ohtani. And those guys are like we know genuinely are one of the greatest, two of the greatest players that ever lived. And none of that money will ever equate to what Ohtani's getting paid. And Ohtani's only a glorified DH at this point. Now, I'm not diminishing Ohtani's abilities, but it's true. So, there's other ways to look at it. It's like the money is crazy now. It has gone completely out of control. It's like Formula One money. But, hey, there isn't a salary cap, so there's nothing stopping that. Because if there wasn't a salary cap in the NBA, I'm sure LeBron James would be getting paid $700 million. They're considering what he brings to the league and endorsements and what he brings to Los Angeles. So you'd probably assume something similar. But hey, man, get paid. I agree, but it is crazy. There is a point there. It is kind of crazy. We're talking about some of the greatest players to ever live, and they're not going to make up even a tenth of what Ohtani made.
Yeah, but even 20 years ago, the sport was different. Like, you didn't see these contracts get given out. So now it's like a normal thing because every year it goes up more. Like when the Mets gave Scherzer 40 million, you're like, what? And then they did it again the following year to Verlander. And then it's like 40 million a year is all of a sudden not looking like too big of a number.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and that's crazy.
I still believe that Lindor contract was ridiculous.
Yeah. But again, the numbers are going to just think when Sasaki gets posted, if he does actually get posted, he could get 500 million. If Yamamoto is going to get 300 plus and not pitch yet, if Sasaki continues at this trend, he might get 400, 500 million. Like the money's just going to keep changing every year. It happens in every single sport. So my point is, yeah, you could say the money's crazy, but it's expected. Players now get paid more than players did back then. Like even in football, the numbers have gone up. Basketball, look how much players are making in the NBA. Like those supermax contracts are ridiculous for some of these players. Like what was that one off season where Timothy Mozgov was making ridiculous money? So like, the numbers go up every year in every single sport. So
What's Jordan Hill getting paid? Like freaking, he's $100 million. He's not even a good player.
He had one good playoff run. He got paid $100 million. So like, yeah, that's just how it works. And it's, I think Jonathan brought it up. The owners choose how they spend their money. So you know what?
Yep.
That's their money. Go spend it. If you're going to spend your money however you want, go do it.
Yeah, all we can do is cross our fingers that it's for the players that we want and will help us win. That's all we can do on our end. But it's not going to stop us from watching. It's not going to stop us from doing shows 3 days a week. We're still gonna do what we do as fans. It's not going to stop. LI's losing baseball IQ points right here. Barry Bonds miles better than Babe Ruth. No.
Bro, did you watch Babe Ruth? Were you like
Let me tell you firsthand about Babe Ruth.
Did you play beside Barry Bonds and Babe Ruth? You can't tell. You can't.
Tats could tell you. He saw every one of his games live.
Honestly, it's like Babe Ruth is emperor.
Look,
he created
Bonds.
If
Danny Bonds did what he did, all juiced up, and Babe Ruth did what he was able to do on the sauce. So you can't compare the two. Babe Ruth
like
absolutely frightening ability.
Well,
and even before he turned into like a giant tree, where he could hit everything like 7 million feet. Even before then, he was one of the best players ever. But Babe Ruth basically created baseball.
Yeah,
there's no baseball without Babe Ruth. So I'm just getting sick of these like comparisons. Like, stop it! You can't compare. Like, what was that dumb comment where the ex-Yankee reliever now relieves for the Mets said, "Oh, I could strike out Babe Ruth." I mean, none of these things.
That was Ottavino.
Yeah, I was stupid. Like, you can't tell. It's just dumb. Just leave it alone. It's from the 20s. Just be happy that baseball exists partially because Babe Ruth is there to make it exist. Because the legend is Babe Ruth calling shots, hitting crazy home runs on a daily basis in a situation where it was impossible to hit home runs back in the day. And he was doing it for fun. It was really hard to hit home runs back in the 20s and the 30s. Everything was changed. Everything was different. It's not now. Baseball is catered towards offense. Back then, it was more towards pitching, and he was still hitting home runs. So, it's a different era. I would have no doubt that Babe Ruth would be breaking all kinds of records in the modern day, but we can't tell because we're not there. So there's no point making that comparison. I appreciate Barry Bonds, phenomenal hitter, and I appreciate Babe Ruth for being an icon. And that's as simple as that. I don't do comparisons anymore. It's dumb. It's stupid.
Yeah, especially that far apart. You want to compare, the approach to play between Bonds and Griffey. That's legitimate. You're talking the same area.
Yeah.
But to go generations deep I just think it loses context, and it's hard to
Well, yeah, because even again, you're talking about like if you just watch the old like however few clips there are, like
Yeah.
Babe Ruth. I saw a clip from I think from Pitching Ninja where he showed like he's teaching how to throw certain pitches and the ridiculous windups they had. It's a different sport now because I do believe you take some of these pitchers and put them back then. Garrett Cole would probably have 8,000 strikeouts. Like the guys back then weren't seeing pitches like that, but you're not going to know. You're never going to know.
Yeah.
But it's a completely different game now than it was back then. Because back then, no one was expecting to see a dude hit 700 home runs. Like that's why everyone wanted to go see him play. And now you can't compare Bonds to Ruth because it's two completely different generations. Like the Griffey and Ruth, and I'm sorry, the Griffey and Bonds comparison is more like when Sosa and McGuire, like that, they play in the exact same era, the Royd era. But you really can't. No, you can't. No, Li with the whole Bonds over Ruth thing. It's like when people, again, you can't tell. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Get Babe Ruth, dig up whatever's left, and try to just bring him back. Like you can't do it. You can't do that stuff. So we can't keep. That's why you can't do it in any sport. It's like when people say, "Well, Bill Russell would dominate in today's sport." How do you know? How do you know? You don't. There's no way of knowing. So just enjoy the legend of the game that helped you get to this point, and let's stop trying to be like smarter than everybody else when it comes to like, well, I guarantee you, Ottavino.
Don't try and do the hot take, Li. Stick to the Yankees modern day stuff, right? Don't try and do the hot take.
Like Ottavino probably could strike out Ruth with that slider, right? But again, who was throwing a pitch like that back in those days? But again, we won't know because we're not going to have a goddamn time machine to do it. So just forget it. Enjoy the legends. Babe Ruth, a legend. Barry Bonds, despite what he may have or may not have done, he definitely did it. But legend, still a legend of the sport. He's still the home run king. So look, just enjoy the greats of the sport and leave it at that. You want to compare Barry Bonds to Griffey? Go do it. I'd probably still take Bonds in that regard because even before the juice, Bonds was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. There's nothing about Bonds. None of this.
No.
I brought Bonds into this. I've always been a Bonds fan. Bonds used to be in the Hall of Fame. In fact, he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's a disgrace, but that's a separate discussion. But come on, can't compare with Babe frickin' Ruth. It's 100 years ago for crying out loud.
Yep. Yeah, and Sean's like, Ruth was hitting screwballs and other now illegal pitches. When's the last time you saw a spitball? Yeah.
The old spit, see? Everyone talked like that back in the day, apparently.
It's very, I don't know why. I'm glad that way of talking is pretty much gone. But that's gonna wrap things up for us today. We apologize for the technical issues from earlier. We hope you enjoyed the little extra innings that we got. Coming a little bit longer today, but we do hope everybody does enjoy their weekends. Make sure you tune in Sunday. Hit the notification bell. Sunday, 11 a.m. We'll have the Upper Deck with Chris and Lynn. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that sub button. The numbers are continuing to climb. I want to appreciate everybody in the family for helping us out. And as I always say,
and remember, if there's any Yellow news that breaks before Monday's show, we will come on. Even if it's for a small bit, we will have our views.
Yes.
Don't you worry. Our reactions will be ready. We are ready. We are waiting. We cannot wait. So watch this space. Any updates, Uncle T will post a link.
Yep, absolutely. So, as we always say, wear your pinch, your pride, and play hard.